Hi, Katie,
Hi, Steve. Good to see you.
and you. Welcome to Art Friends Coffee. For those,
Thank
it's great to have you. For those of you watching at home, this is Katy Crabbe. She's a floral artist, but as you can see behind her, it's floral landscapes predominantly from South Wiltshire, and we're delighted to have you on. Thank you for appearing and showing your lovely work. And today, Katie, we'd really just like to find out about your artistic inspiration.
Oh, thanks so much, Steve, and thanks for having me. My artistic inspiration, I am very much an outdoors person, which I think probably reflects a lot in what I paint. So, I think my inspiration comes very much from what's around us, the environment, the surroundings. I
Yeah,
live in the countryside, as you noted just there, and I really do live in quite a rural area. Surrounded by lots of fields, lots of greenery, and an avid gardener. So really,
great. Yeah,
just love seeing what happens through the seasons within the garden. I think I tend to, from an inspiration perspective, it's really just sometimes it's a color. It might be just being outside and seeing a particular sky. Sometimes it's even just the shape of something or a cloud, and that
yeah.
tends to then inspires sort of um, what I may go off and produce. Um,
So,
very much sort of colours and
yeah. No, that sounds lovely.
shapes.
Do you are your paintings more sort of intuitive? You know, are you doing them from imagination, or are you doing them from photographic references? How do you
Yeah,
go about that?
yeah, it's funny, isn't it? I'm not very good at sort of just copying sort of like to like. It tends to be sort of more what's in an imagination. So I think it's often I've seen a particular flower and I've gone, oh, actually, I really love
Yeah,
the shape of that. And I think because sometimes my artwork is bordering on a little bit of abstract, so you may look at something within the painting and recognize it as a really definable, that's a poppy. Sometimes
yeah.
there's a little more of a verging on, well, what could that be? And I think it it it's quite a sort of fluid process. I usually will start with a sky or a background and some sort of color and then take it from there. So not great at working from sort of specific images. It does just tend to
Right.
flow as
You blow,
feel.
yeah. And I
Yeah,
suppose over time, your ability to translate that onto the canvas improves in terms of things
yeah,
you see and
yeah, absolutely. And I think sometimes I stand back and my my work tends to be quite sort of meadowscapey or sort of garden
yeah,
sort of
yeah, it's lovely.
setting.
Yeah,
And yeah, thank you. Sometimes I do stand back and you wouldn't necessarily see that in somebody's garden, or it wouldn't, but actually it would reflect perhaps part of it. There might be an element of sky or
yeah,
some flowers or some bugs or butterflies, etc., whatever that you might sort of see. But it's yes, it tends to be a bit of an evolving process rather than I've got a specific idea of what I'm going to do and want to create
so yeah,
exactly that.
yeah, that's lovely. So quite intuitive then as a process.
Yeah, I would
Yeah,
say it's really quite an intuitive process and a bit of a sort of go with the flow, I think.
brilliant. Yeah, no, that's great. What about artists? Are there any sort of sort of famous
um,
artists and stuff that you've
yeah,
gives you
so
inspiration?
probably Monet in terms of the colours and the flow,
Yeah,
and I know it's a really popular sort of quite choice to go for, but actually that sort of colours and that dreamlike
yeah,
element, I think I do really try to, I wouldn't ever say imitate, but try to capture that sort of almost whimsical
yeah.
element within my work, so that you wouldn't necessarily, like I sort of was referring to, necessarily look at it and go, that is a specific thing, but it has that sort of flow and sort of element to it
Yeah,
where it's quite fluid. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, I can see that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's quite a popular choice, I think,
I
um,
think so.
as
Yeah,
a
very
as an
artistic.
artistic point of inspiration.
Yeah,
Um, we chatted to Claire Law, and she seemed to that she had a similar sort of sense of it, which was great. It was lovely to hear about. But she
yeah,
seemed to think that there was a sense that he was a bit sort of it was a bit twee, a bit sort of eh, not de rigueur to find him as a point of artistic inspiration, and I just thought that was a bit of a shame. I
yeah.
hadn't heard that before, and I just thought, well, he's an amazing
No.
artist. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, the fact that he's so well known, surely,
yeah,
yeah, well, absolutely, I would agree, would indicate that. I think just in terms of it's so likable, isn't it? There isn't anything that you couldn't relate to within any of his work, and I think that what sort of makes it quite translatable for a lot of people when viewing it, that
yeah,
it's quite difficult to dislike, um, and um, and I suppose it depends what you want the viewer of your art to feel, doesn't it? If you
yeah.
think
But I think you can take inspiration from work that isn't necessarily anything like your work. You know,
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't. I don't see it as being a limited thing. I think you look around at things people have created, and at a personal, I find inspiration in loads of places that don't necessarily translate. Some people might look at it and go, "Well, really? How? Why?" But I think that's part of the attraction.
it is
And it's great
absolutely.
to hear. You take inspiration from the natural world. You look to paintings from Monet, and all that sort of fuses somehow, and you do your own thing. I think that's a lovely thing.
Yeah, and I think that's the fun of it, I suppose, isn't it? It's being able to bring lots of different elements together that mean something to you, or that you've kind of resonate with, and create something from that. That's the kind of the joy of it, is being able to is to that that finding that bit where
Yeah,
you go to what this is
yeah, yeah,
important. Yeah, that's for me is the bit about being able to paint, and being
brilliant.
able to
Yeah,
produce something, I suppose, that
yeah,
that I
yeah, yeah,
like.
yeah. Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. Katie, that's been brilliant. Thanks so much for sharing your inspiration, and also a bit about the process that you go through.
Thank
I hope that those watching at home enjoyed that as much as me. That was great listening, and yeah, really insightful. For those
thanks,
of
Steve.
you listening at home, thanks so much for watching. If you found it useful, or you want to find out more, then please consider subscribing on YouTube at art.friends.coffee, and similarly on Instagram at art.friends.coffee as well. We'd be very grateful. Thanks very much, and see you again in the next video. Cheers, Katie.